Alrighty, good morning folks, this is Jason with the Primal Outdoors channel, and today we're going to be comparing this Bluetti Elite 300 with this Comvolt 2200. Now, Bluetti's been in this market for quite a long time. I would say they are a leader in this market. They have some great units, and I think this is going to be a great unit to test against this relative newcomer, which is the Comvolt 2200. Now, Comvolt is fairly new. I learned about them last year. I've been using a few of their different units in my different vehicles. I've got their 6000 in my van, and I've been using their 4200 in my rooftop tent setup. This is their 2200. It is a 2200 watt unit, and then you have the Bluetti, which is roughly around a 3000 watt unit. So there is a little bit of advantage to the Bluetti, but this new Comvolt does have some features that I think if you're into overlanding, van life, or you're looking for a power unit to supplement your RV, I think this one's got some unique features that will be interesting to you. Now, another thing I want to note is I am currently running a test. I have my ICECO APL35 connected to the Bluetti through the inverter. It is set up as dual zone, so I have one side set as freezer at 0 degrees and the other side set as refrigerator at about 34 degrees. I'm also running my Starlink Mini. I'm going to be running this test for about 6 hours so that we can see how much it draws down the Bluetti, and then I'll be running that same test on the Comvolt 2200, and we'll share those results towards the end of the video. But while we're waiting on that, I am going to go over a few of the different features between each model. Now again, I'm kind of leaning this video towards people that are either building an overland vehicle that need to power some accessories, or somebody that possibly is building an adventure van that needs to power accessories, or some other type of RV, or maybe you already have an RV and it already does have a power system in it and you just need to be able to supplement that power when you're off grid. Both of these units actually have features that will allow you to do that, and I don't think there's a clear winner, but there is some differences, and depending on what you're after, one unit may be better for you than the other. Both units do have inverters. The Bluetti has a 2400 watt inverter, and then the Comvolt has a 2200 watt inverter. The one advantage I see with the Bluetti is it does come with a 30 amp plug, which is going to be handy for those of you that are wanting to plug into an RV when you're off grid. You still could plug into an RV with the 2200, but you would have to adapt down to the regular 15 amp port that's on the back, which is going to limit you to what devices you would be able to use within the RV. Both devices also have 10 amp 12 volt cigarette lighter plugs. The Bluetti has one. The Comvolt actually has two of those for plugging in devices like that. Then you do have USB. Now the Bluetti does have 100 watt PD ports. Now I do believe these are shared, so it would be either 100 watt out of one or 50 watts out of two. And then you have your two regular USB-A ports. The Comvolt does only have one power delivery port and a QC port. The power delivery port, I can't seem to find any information on it as far as how many watts it is. So I don't know if it's 60 watts or 100 watts or what it's capable of, but it does have a power delivery port on it. One feature that I see on the Bluetti that is new to this type of power station, and I think has been missing from power stations for a lot of years, especially when it comes to overland vehicles or van life vehicles that you're going to be building out and you may want to hardwire DC components in. This Bluetti actually does have a 30 amp DC 12 volt out, so that is going to give you a lot more options. In the past, all we had available to us was this 10 amp port, and 10 amps just isn't that much. Plus, these ports are typically not the most reliable. It's easy for the connector to pop out, where this one appears to have an XT90 port, which should be a nice secure connection. And then you could actually wire that to a fuse bus, and that would give you a lot of options as far as hardwiring components. And where that's really going to come in handy is if you need to run a diesel heater. One of the challenges with running diesel heaters on units like this that only had the cigarette lighter port is on startup, a lot of times when they're firing up the glow plugs to get the thing started, it would exceed the 10 amps and then it would trip the port and you wouldn't be able to get the diesel heater running. A lot of diesel heaters nowadays are actually coming with AC ports so that you could plug in and use the inverter instead. But with this unit, you actually could wire to a bus and be able to run that diesel heater off this 30 amp port. So that's a really nice upgrade, and I do like that. And like I said, if you did wire to a bus like this, then you could wire in lights and a lot of other DC components. And one of the things I like to do is specifically with refrigerators, I usually like to hardwire them in instead of, again, using these unreliable cigarette lighter ports. So again, this is a nice upgrade. Now, with that said, the Comvolt 2200 actually has a 120 amp Anderson in the back. So if you're needing to run quite a few DC components, the Comvolt has got a big advantage over the Blue Yeti in as far as how many amps you could wire up. Not only could you run that Anderson and wire to a fuse bus like this, but Comvolt also has an extra accessory called the PDU, which basically is a fused bus that it can be controlled through a screen that you can get as a separate option for this. But both of them would allow you to use a basic bus like this, but you'd be limited 30 amps on this one, 120 amps on this one. So if you're really wanting to build out a serious power system, I would probably lean towards a Comvolt on that particular unit. But I am glad to see that Blue Yeti and some of these other manufacturers are starting to finally catch on that we need more DC power. Now, pricing on both the Blue Yeti and the Comvolt 2200 are fairly similar. The Blue Yeti right now at time of recording, which is June 2nd, 2026, is running around $1,200. This one is $1,300. Now, something that you're going to want to consider when you are building an overland vehicle or a van or your RV is how you're going to charge these units while you're on the road. Now, both these units can be charged via an AC wall outlet when you're at home, or solar when you're out and about, or both units have ways that you can charge off of your start battery and get a fast charge into them while you're driving. With the Blue Yeti, you can purchase this extra DC to DC accessory and you can wire it to your start battery, and then when you're driving, it charges at about 500 watts or so, which gives you a lot of fast charging into the unit while you're going. With the Comvolt 2200, it actually comes, you don't need to buy this as an extra accessory, it comes with a 30 amp DC to DC charger and all of the wiring that you need to be able to wire it as part of the package. So one other cool feature that the Comvolt 2200 has, especially if you're going to be out adventuring in very cold temps, is that you can charge this below 32 degrees because it does have a heating element in there to be able to heat up the battery. This unit, as far as I can tell, does not have that. Both these units do have apps that you can monitor the systems when you're not necessarily right up against the unit. So if you have them in the back seat or something and you want to be able to see what your state of charge is or how much wattage you're using, you can use the app on your phone. Now, as far as size and weight, they are pretty similar. There is some difference in size and shape. I would say that the Comvolt is a little bit smaller than this unit. It's narrower, a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. This one, not quite as long, but it is wider and a bit taller. I couldn't find a spec on the Comvolt for how much it weighs. I did find a spec on the Blue Yeti, which said about 58 to 60 pounds. Picking these up, I can definitely tell you the Comvolt is significantly lighter feeling. I just don't have a scale in here to tell you exactly what it is, but I can tell you that I can definitely tell a difference when I pick this up versus having to pick this up. So both units do have displays where you can monitor what's going on with the system as far as state of charge, how many watts are going in, how many watts are going out. The Comvolt, I have noticed that its screen seems to be easy to read whether the sun's directly on it or not. On the Blue Yeti, I have noticed that it's really hard to read the screen when the sun is directly on it. Alright folks, well, it's been a couple of days and I have completed the test on both units. So again, I ran my ICECO APL35 and my Starlink Mini for 6 hours on each unit. Now the Comvolt, it went from 100 to 80% by running 6 hours, and the Bluetti Yeti went from 100% down to 82%. So that seems pretty consistent with what I expected. Like I said, this is not a super scientific test because they were shot on different days or tested on different days, and obviously there's some environmental variables that could affect the test. So I give it 1 to 2% being off on each unit, but as you can see, it's pretty close what both of them came out at. Anyhow folks, I hope that you found this comparison video useful. Like I said, I don't feel like there's necessarily a clear winner here. It's really going to come down to which unit has the features and specs that you are really after. For me, I've been using the Comvolt pretty regularly in my setups. Like I said, I have the 6000, the big boy, in my van, and I have the 4200 in my pickup with the rooftop setup, which I think I'll actually be using this one in the pickup from now on because I'll be moving the 4200 to my bus setup. But both units have been great. I like the expandability of this unit beyond the box itself, because you can get the remote screen as an accessory, and then you can also get the PDU, and that gives you some features beyond what you can do with this unit if you're really looking to set up a robust DC system in your vehicle. But with that said, this does have a provision for that. I just don't think it's quite as expandable as the Comvolt. But if you're just looking for an RV setup and you need to just be able to plug your 30 amp plug into some extra battery power, this one has definitely got the advantage over the Comvolt 2200. So like I said, it's just going to come down to your needs and what you want. Anyhow guys, if you found this video useful, please do give it a like. If you have any comments or questions, you can leave those down below, and we'll catch you guys again outside.